and we won. What I remember so much about that night, though, was the acceptance speech that you gave, Corey. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said we weren't even supposed to be here. A few of these bands are like drop D,
Yes.
double kick pedal.
Yes.
Like influenced by 90s hard rock like Pantera.
Yes.
And we are Pentecostal kids playing a hybrid of 80s metal and contemporary Christian music with a black gospel drummer. We conceived of the show, reached out ourselves.
Yeah.
We were writing all of our own songs, and we were doing that before we could drive. And the dude that they hired to come preach for this, quote, youth rally, and by youth rally, they just meant they brought us in, and we were youths. But he sat there the whole time, you know, head in his hands, and then he gets up and he goes, "Let's just forget everything that's been done already this evening." My name is Corey Evans, and I am not a rock star. I am a caffeine junkie, licensed minivan operator, touring musician, and a proud American. Ride with me as I tour the greatest country on earth and talk to the real rock stars, our local legends, small town heroes, and those who bravely serve our country. And even though I'm not a rock star, I do live a pretty rock and roll life. This is it. This is America. This is the Not a Rock Star podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to Not a Rock Star. It is November 13th, and today is all about Christian rock. And we're also going to get into managing a restaurant today. Would you like to introduce yourself to the fine people?
What's up? What's your camera?
Well, you don't even have to do that. You can just talk.
All right. What's up? This is Ryan Summers, general manager of Pizza Inn, Paducah, Kentucky, and one-time lead singer of the greatest Christian rock band ever, JCPC.
I don't even think that's an exaggeration or even up for debate.
Not at all.
Greatest Christian rock band of all time. So Ryan and I grew up together, and we've been great friends since we were little boys. And the first band we were both in was a Christian rock band called JCPC, and we had a little bit of a following in this area, and to this day, we still have some fans, and that was a very long time ago, and I still get asked about JCPC probably about once a year. So,
all the time. Who, what kinds of things do people ask you or say to you?
Well, so we got a
band?
friend named Kevin Hodges. You know Kevin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anytime I play in this area and Kevin is in attendance, which is about every other year, he will come up to me and be like, "I love what you're doing, man. Now, do you still talk to Ryan and Kyle? Do you guys have any plans of ever getting back together?" And we haven't played together in 21 years.
Yeah.
Like, so
It's a long intermission.
so I get that. Every now and then, because our big thing, like, we played a ton of youth groups. We kind of traveled around Western Kentucky and Southern Illinois and played a ton of churches and like youth festivals and events. Every now and then I'll get like I remember you from JCPC, or like there'll be like a story. Someone will be like, "I was going through some old pictures and I was at a JCPC concert." So that's kind of what I get. What do you get?
I get the, "Hey man, there's a better way." Hey, I get that a lot from people quoting one of our more popular songs, "There's a Better Way." And I get that a lot. I get the, "Whatever happened to Corey Evans?" I get that sometimes too, which is funny because I always tell him, like, "Yeah, Corey's still playing music. Like, he's got a couple EPs. He's doing all right now." So.
Do you guys ever have conversations about the JCPC days while you're at work?
Not so much. We just talk mainly about just the stuff that we used to do growing up. Because, you and I, obviously, we've known each other since we were, like you said, little kids. We grew up together. We grew up in the same church together. We grew up playing music together. We've been friends our whole lives, and so working with your brother too. It's just, he's so much like you, but he's so different from you, you know, as far as personalities and focus and attention to detail. You guys are both like one and the same, but no, man, I think it's a privilege to get to work with one of my lifelong friends and people that I respect so much, and then getting to do something like this with you, you know, chat about some of the old days that we had. I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, let me try to describe JCPC. I feel like the legend has far outgrown what we actually did.
100%.
It also helps that we don't tell anybody what that stands for.
Yes.
Some people figure it out. I mean, come on, the JC is kind of a given. We were a Christian rock band, so it's Jim Caviezel. No. But yeah, we won't tell anybody what it stands for. And every now and then there'll be like an OG fan that knows. Shout out to our boy BJ Lampley.
Yeah.
He's kind of the one everybody contacts. Like, what did that stand for?
Yeah.
But if I had to describe us, so like, let's just talk about musical influences. So you and your brother Kyle was in the band with us. He played bass.
Yep.
And you were the lead singer, and I played originally piano/keyboard, but then more lead guitar towards the end.
Yeah.
And then we had a drummer, Jeremy. So you and Kyle were like really influenced by 90s contemporary Christian music and Christian rock.
Yeah.
Now, so was I, because
Yeah.
we weren't supposed to be listening to anything other than that.
Yep.
Now, I heard a lot of Southern gospel as a kid, which I guess you guys would have too. But my mom and dad listened like exclusively to Southern gospel and old country. So I kind of had those influences, but really got into like classic rock when I was like 13, 14, and was like sneaking around and listening to guitar solos. So Ryan and Kyle were like really into CCM music. And then I had gotten really into like Eddie Van Halen. And then our drummer, who was white, pretty much only listened to black gospel.
Oh, yeah.
So we would be playing these like worship inspired songs and Christian rock inspired songs. And then I would break out into like an 80s ridiculous amount of distortion guitar solo after every second chorus.
It's epic. Yeah.
And then our drummer would just play everything like it was Black Church. Is that a pretty good, like at least musical description of what we were doing?
Yeah, musically, I think that's exactly what we were. You know, we were towards the end, you know, when we really kind of found our stride. I think we were a good rock band, you know, a Christian rock band. But yeah, as far as those influences are concerned, we had a lot of the same ones. But like you said, we were all kind of sheltered away from the, you know, what was called secular music at that time. And so when you got to discover things like Eddie Van Halen, for me, it was like Lenny Kravitz and Matchbox 20. Like those were U2. Those were like big time influencers for me when I started kind of getting out there into other things. And so, you know, you learn all these different genres and different styles, and then you kind of want to become those things and you put your own little spin on it. But I would say when it came to our band, you were obviously like, you were the creative center. You know what I'm saying? You were by far the most musically gifted one of all of us. Jeremy, our drummer, he was the fun one. You know what I'm saying? He was the cool one. He always dressed cool. He always had like the silver crazy or shiny button-up shirts, you know, or had palm trees on, or just be playing in the hot sun with like a wife beater on or something like that. Like that was his thing.
He was the oldest too.
He was the oldest, but he always had great hair. Like, but he was the fun. And then Kyle was like more of the heart of the band, because Kyle, think about this, dude. Like when we were kind of at our peak, Kyle was on like 15, 16 years old. Like he was really young, but super, super talented, could learn anything really, really quickly. And I don't know, Kyle was he was very foundational to what we did. And then my thing was just always, because I wasn't a great singer. I wasn't the greatest singer. I wasn't the coolest looking dude. But my thing was I really wanted to find a way as a front man to influence, especially in the live show, the crowd. You know what I'm saying? To find a way that there's not like one single lame or quiet moment in the show. Like, we're going to take you on a journey from this verse to this chorus of this verse to this chorus, this bridge in the song into the next song. Like, I was always thinking and planning. So I felt like, especially because you were so musically gifted, if I was going to do my part in the band, I had to find a way. And my way was through just being trying to be a good front man.
You were great at it. We had a lot of live energy and chemistry, and that's what we were really good at. When people ask me about it, I mean, so we'll kind of go back to just like the environment we were in. So we grew up Pentecostal, and I said this a few weeks ago, probably about a month ago on the podcast. Dude, I wish I was cool and my car was that loud.
That was awesome.
But anyways, I said, I don't know if Southern Pentecostal is an actual designation, but that's what we were. Mm. And so our church services, for most of our childhood, we had my cousin Jimmy playing like Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash inspired guitar on like it looked like a Fender Strat, but it was like a Peavey.
Yeah.
But he had that class of like boom chicka boom chicka doom chicka doom like rockabilly.
Those runs, yeah.
And then my cousin Donnie was playing bass. So it was like boom, 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 boom. And then all of our songs were like, it's the Holy Ghost and fire and it's keeping me alive. Like, that's what we grew up playing and hearing. And we were all kind of playing in church. Like, I played piano in church, and then our drummer, Jeremy, was like our drummer in the worship service. And we were little kids learning how to do this. And Pentecostal church is a lot like black church. Like, you get thrown into the fire and learn how to improvise at a young age. There's not a whole lot that, at least at that time.
And we both sang in the choir. And my mom was the choir director.
Yes.
Too. So, I mean, that along was another thing. You know, we were vocally challenged to learn how to singing parts. And yes. And most of the choir songs were probably black gospel songs. So yeah, we were doing genre. These kind of like,
I mean, like, it was Brookport. It was kind of hillbilly-ish versions of black gospel.
Yeah.
And then a lot of old school Southern gospel. And that was like what we were playing as children. And we were very young when the band started. So Kyle, Ryan's brother, was the youngest. He was 10. I was 11. Yeah. You would have been 12.
Yeah.
We had another guy in the band, Justin Tate, for a few years.
Yeah.
He was 13 and Jeremy was 15. So we were ages 10 through 15. And then we started like playing in church as a band and like playing more, quote, Christian rock when I was like 11, 12. And then by the time I was like 14, I had already started learning to play guitar. We started to shift away from Southern gospel and church music to more like rock, Christian rock. And I stopped playing piano for most of our songs and it went to, you know, finger tapping guitar solos or whatever. So by the time at like the end of my 8th grade year, we actually were performing on a regular basis and writing most of our own songs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I remember, like the formation of it. We started out exclusively playing in church and then started getting invited to like a bunch of area youth groups. What do you remember kind of about the first like 2 or 3 years?
I remember, like you said, you playing piano a lot in the early years, but I remember specifically the first night after you got your first guitar, and it was on I can't remember if it was a Wednesday night before church or a Sunday night before church. You took us into the fellowship hall at the church, and you're like, hey guys, check this out. Like, I'm learning to play guitar on my own. And you're like, I tuned it to where and you like laid it down like it was a, what do you call it?
Like a
steel
guitar.
Yeah, something like that. And you start playing, I think the song was In the Light by DC Talk. It was like 4 chords, dun, 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 dun. That was like the first thing you did. And we were all just like, what? Corey's going to start playing guitar now. Like, this is different. But yeah, we would cover songs. You remember David and the Giants?
That was the first time we played live, right? Was Stumbling Block.
I think was the name of the song by David and the Giants. You played that on piano. I sang. Kyle wasn't even playing bass then. Kyle was singing there too. And then after that, like you said, once we started, you became a guitar player. Kyle started learning to play bass. Now we're starting to write our own music. Do you remember our first show was at a lady in our church, Pam Burden's house? It was in her living room.
March of 2000. I was in the 8th grade. It was March of 2000.
You remember the date?
I still remember, yeah.
But we literally set up in her living room a little mini sound system and instruments, live instruments, and this youth group of what, maybe 10 people? I don't know. They maybe had 15 people there. And we performed probably like 4 or 5 songs. It wasn't much, I don't think. And we just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Like, that was our big break. And it kind of was in some ways, because that church invited us to play a bonfire. And then from there, we just started getting invites from different churches. You know, we got this little youth event going on. Can you guys come play? And next thing you know, we go from playing in somebody's living room to playing out in an open field somewhere to playing in a Presbyterian church sanctuary. You know, we were kind of all over the place. The first couple years were pretty awesome. We thought we were going to be Hanson.
We did. Yeah, we're going to be like a Christian Hanson. It happened fast.
Yeah.
So I remember that show, and I feel like there might have been more people there, because their youth group was like 10 or 15, and we had kids from our church. And man, I could be wrong, but I feel like at that point we'd already learned like 10 or 12 songs, but maybe we only had 4 or 5 of our own.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we were playing like Lord, I Lift Your Name on High. And then we had this like really cool song where I'd ripped off like a Van Halen riff called Generation Christ. Yeah, I remember we played that. That was one of our first ones we wrote as a band.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was March of 2000. And you know, when we were kids, I was sick all the time. You remember that? I was always sick. So I remember being like super sick that night and having to like stop and blow my nose like every 30 seconds. But then almost immediately we started getting invites to like, go to other churches. I remember we played Brookport's 4th of July festival like in July of that year.
Yeah.
And then we had played like at the junior high in Metropolis.
That was your big show. That was like your dream show at that time. You wanted to play the auditorium there at the old junior high.
Yeah, and I remember we did that in May. Yeah. So the first show was in March. We did that in May. We did the fireworks thing in July. But then we were getting like these other youth group shows kind of sprinkled in between. Yeah. And then at the start of my freshman year, we went back and played the junior high auditorium. It had a bigger crowd. I do remember that. Yeah. Like, it was almost like, oh, this is starting to like pick up for us.
Yeah.
And then there was a Christian band in the area that we looked up to called Lightheaded.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like the band. But then around the time that I was turning 15, you were turning 16, they had kind of disbanded. And so we kind of stepped into that spot as like the band that all the churches would hire to come play their events. And by hire, I mean,
we'll take whatever they give us.
We would get like a few hot dogs.
Yeah, we weren't making money, that's for sure.
Now let's talk about the equipment, because it sucked. Like, we were getting old stuff from old people at our church. So
hand-me-down sound equipment for sure.
When we first started, Ryan had this like Elvis Presley looking 1950s mic that probably was from the 1950s that one of the old people gave us.
Yeah.
And he would plug it into the same amp that Kyle plugged his bass guitar into. And it was like $100 Gorilla amp. The name of the brand was Gorilla.
Bro, I can't remember. I can't believe you remember all this
And
stuff.
It had a picture of a gorilla on it. I had a 10-watt Epiphone amplifier that came with my first electric guitar. And I remember it was 10 watts, and my dad would scream and yell at me and tell me I was shaking the whole house. And it was literally like this big, and it was 10 watts. So that's what I was rolling around with.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy, I don't even know where his drums came from.
He had his own set.
He did have his own kit.
Yeah.
And all of our stuff after Justin quit the band, there was 4 of us. Jeremy was the only one who could drive. He had a Ford Festiva.
Yep.
Which is like a Steve Urkel looking car. Like it's mini. And somehow all 4 of us would fit in that car and everything I just named.
And equipment.
And I remember Kyle and I being the youngest, we would get in the back seat and you and Jeremy would just stack stuff on top of us.
Yeah.
And then we would show up and play these shows. And somehow we were making an impression on people and they were like asking us to come back.
Yeah, and thankfully, you know, the more equipment, better equipment, I should say, that we wound up getting along the way, and the more we begin being invited by other people to different places and new opportunities we got, you know, we had some really, really good people in our lives that invested time in us and helped us. Shout out to Atlee White, Donnie Hogue, later years, like Russell Lee, people like that kind of were our roadies and our chaperones in a lot of ways because we were so young. But yeah, those guys were very key to helping us in the things that we did, the places we went.
Yeah, we weren't old enough to deal with adults.
No, so not at all.
Atlee had to go talk to the adults for us.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. And again, I mean, we were mature for our age, but we're still just some really young teenagers who have the responsibility of setting up a show, you know, performing for a youth rally that is full of nothing but people over the age of 65, you know.
Okay, we got to get into that. So I do want to come back to the upgrade of the equipment and kind of the upgrade of the whole situation, because we did kind of hit a stride there after about 1.5 years, 2 years. Yeah. Got better stuff, started playing bigger shows. But yeah, we would get invited to some of these churches and it would be, quote, youth night.
And by the way, we said yes to every invitation.
Oh, yeah.
And if we got invited, we did it. It didn't matter what it was or where it was at, we did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Played a lot of flatbed trailer shows, that kind of thing. But the worst one, and you're going to remember the exact same one I'm remembering, was in Simpson, Illinois. Yeah. I was a freshman in high school. And my dad's family is from like Simpson, right? So I was like, oh yeah, I know where that's at. So we go to play a Baptist church, which by the way, at the time, we were breaking barriers. As ridiculous as this is gonna sound now, 25 years later, you weren't allowed to like commingle. Like Baptists and Pentecostals didn't do stuff together back then. Not at all. Neither did Methodists. So like we were actually like, as crazy as it sounds, breaking barriers because all these churches were wanting us to come play worship at their church. And I remember like having to talk to our pastor, like, hey, are you okay with this? And he was very supportive. But like that was a big deal 25 years ago. Oh, we got these Pentecostal kids coming. Like make sure they don't do anything crazy while they're here. We had to meet with some pastors of churches ahead of time. Yeah, they had to vet us. Yeah, they were vetting to see what we were going to say, what we were going to do. Yeah. I think it would be funny, like, they might have a roundabout way to make sure we weren't going to speak in tongues. Like, so they might ask Ryan, like, now, do you do the same lyrics every time? Like, do you know what you're going to do? Are all your lyrics in English? Yeah. But anyways, we play in Simpson. This was by far the worst one. And you're going to agree. And this dude, the guy who was, like, they had hired to preach that night, the evangelist or whatever you would call him, the entire time we were playing, just had his head down, his hands like on his head the whole time, just sat on the front row and looked like his dog just got shot. Yeah, he was miserable. This dude was like 6'5", looked like Jake the Snake Roberts and had some snakeskin boots. I still remember this. And then now, don't you remember this though, before you get into that? Don't you remember we walked in, we saw the crowd, and we saw that this was clearly not a youth rally, more of a senior citizen rally. And do you remember, we like switched the whole set immediately. Yes. We were playing like everything. The old rugged cross. I mean, like we changed everything. Like what are the most basic like hymns and traditional church songs that we already know? Let's do them all right now. So it wasn't like we were playing anything really modern at all. We were like, no, let's take this back for this. We were trying to play to the crowd is what we were trying to do. Yes. And I think at one point I even looked at you and I was like, no guitar solos? And you were like, that is not going to work tonight. So I remember being like, man, we drove all the way up here I've been practicing these techniques. Like, I can't even do this.
Can't do my solo.
Yeah. So we do the set, and the dude that they hired to come preach for this quote youth rally, and by youth rally they just meant they brought us in and we were youths, but he sat there the whole time, you know, head in his hands, and then he gets up and he goes, "Let's just forget everything that's been done already this evening." That's the first thing he said. And he sounded like that, high-pitched voice.
Oh, yeah.
And then he kept going in his sermon. I still remember this. His whole illustration is, "You got to rise up." And he just kept saying that. So for years, that was the inside joke with us. Like, you got to rise up. Come to think of it, that dude was kind of more Pentecostal than we were. Like, that guy was very demonstrative. He just hated our music. But that was a big thing, is Christian rock of the devil.
Yeah.
So we had to deal with that. And some of the older folks in our church, they were supportive of us as young Christians, but hated our music.
Yeah.
Not all of them, a lot of them liked it, you know, but like, that was a big ordeal. Is it possible to be a Christian and have distorted guitars? So I'm going to let you speak to that a little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, we definitely dealt with that. And I remember even my own grandfather making a comment to me, how can there be such a thing as Christian rock? Like, he was equating the rebellion of rock music, so to speak, with Christianity, and he felt like they were oil and water and they just wouldn't work together. And so that was definitely a struggle for us, you know, because not only were we playing rock music, but we're teenagers, so we're playing it loudly, you know what I'm saying? And we're just trying to have fun. And then we definitely had the expectation on us of, we weren't just playing music, but we were like evangelists.
Yes.
As well. You know, we were kind of brought up to that we had to, you know, share our faith and invite people to follow us with Christ on our journey of life, you know, jump in with us as well, follow Christ. And that was a very heavy weight, a very, very heavy responsibility for 15, 16-year-old kids. And in some ways, it upsets me that we had that kind of weight on us, you know, because we couldn't just be kids and have fun. You know, I feel like we missed out on some of the opportunities we had. But at the same time, like, I think it helped us mature really, really quickly. Like, we grew up really, really fast. And in the long run, it was beneficial. But it wasn't easy.
We had a lot of pressure on us, man. Because, like, we all... Like, that was a legitimate thing we had all really bought into, too. Like, we are doing this for Jesus. Like, this was not just we're trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
We had those expectations for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to go spread our faith. But, yeah, dude, the people at our church were like, we're sending you out.
Yeah.
And you represent us. We're letting you go play at this Methodist church, but you represent us.
Yeah.
So no shenanigans. You better not make out with your girlfriend, you know, when you guys aren't on stage. Like, nobody let a word slip, which, by the way, like, we weren't talking like that anyways. I mean, but like, there was a whole lot of like, you represent Jesus, but you don't just represent Jesus, like, you represent Pentecostals. So like, don't go screw this up.
Yeah.
But I think about that all the time because I taught kids like that were that age and put kids in bands. And I think about that, like, you know, those kids were better technically than us, like, because they were getting formal training and we weren't.
No,
we taught ourselves.
We were all self-taught.
Yes, we taught ourselves everything. The only formal training any of us had is Jeremy was in the school band and the drum line, and so was I. Yep. But that was about it. Like, nobody taught me to play guitar. Yep. I guarantee Jeremy picked up everything on drums from the lady who played drums at our church.
No one taught us to write music.
Nobody.
Nothing. Lyric writing, nothing. So
I always think about that. Like, yeah, you know, those kids I were teaching could pull off like the Hotel California solo or something. Mm-hmm. But I'm not just saying this. I have yet to see a group of like 14 and 15-year-olds that could act so adult And a lot of times, like the chaperones we had were just kind of there. Like they helped us in a bunch of other ways, like just general guidance in life. They were mentors. They would drive us. They would set equipment up, give us advice. But in some of these situations, like we conceived of the show, reached out ourselves.
Yeah.
We were writing all of our own songs, and we were doing that before we could drive.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about is like I had a 30-year-old experience as a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
And had a lot of like you said, responsibility placed on me. But we were living like an adult life as kids.
Yeah. We were. When you say it like that, it feels extra heavy.
Yeah. So,
but yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons too. I mean, I always think about like, just my life in general, you know, like there's certain things I would love to be married and have kids and stuff, but I'm like, dude, I've kind of lived a full life even at my age because as a teenager, I lived, you know, this very unique experience. You know, I'd kind of lived an adult life by the time I was 20.
Yeah. Do you feel like, when would you say we finally hit our stride? What was kind of the pinnacle where we hit our stride? I know my answer. I want to know what yours is though.
I would say when I was like 15, 16, and we won that Battle of the Bands.
That's it right there. That was the thought that I had.
You want to kind of tell that story?
So, the local radio station in Mayfield, 89.7, I think was what it was. They were hosting a Battle of the Bands, and they asked people that wanted to be a part of it to send in a tape. Yes, a tape cassette of your band playing. And they would basically pick 5 people, the 5 best, and then they would have 2 alternates just in case somebody couldn't play. And so I think it was Atlee, wasn't it, who sent in our tape? And it was just this random demo that we had recorded of, I don't even know how we recorded it. Do you remember that?
It was probably a karaoke machine that had a microphone.
100%.
That got set up in our band practice. Yes.
Yeah, it was a karaoke machine that was with a microphone that was recording on a cassette what we did in our practice. And so we got chosen as an alternate, but somebody, again, couldn't make the show, whatever. And so we go down to somewhere in Graves County.
It was in Murray, I think.
Was it Murray?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we go down to Murray. It's the day of my junior prom. I skipped my junior prom for this. And they make the announcement that we're going to let you perform based on alphabetical order, right? So our name starts with a J, so you would think we might be middle of the way, second, third. No, we're first. We got to open the Battle of the Bands. And they gave us, I believe it was 20 minutes.
We were terrified, by the way. Kids from Brookport and Metropolis.
Yeah.
We had never, this was like one of the biggest things we'd done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they gave us 20 minutes.
It was 20, yeah.
And we had practiced our set. Okay, let's get this set in. We can do these 4 songs in 20 minutes, right? So before we play, they, of course, since we're first, we get to do a real good sound check first. And they tell us that, you know, what was it, like a 2-minute? They'll give you a 2-minute warning. Basically, they'll give you a sign. And when you get that sign, like, you have to complete the song. And when the song is done, like, you're done, whether your set's done or not. And so we get up there and we open with Came a Stranger, Left a Friend, which is a ballad, rock ballad type of song with lyrics written. It was actually a poem by an older lady in our church. Shout out to Marilyn Loudermilk. Still with us, still writing poetry as well. So we start off with this rock ballad and then go into, what are we going into from there, Corey?
I believe we played a song called Crazy for Jesus
Crazy.
At one point.
Yeah, which was one of our staples at that time.
I had ripped off Thunderstruck by AC/DC, so the intro was like
wicked guitar parts in that song though. Wicked guitar parts. And then we went into what was at that time one of our newer songs, radio friendly type of song called Kissed by Love. But we were planning on ending our set with the song that you had written, Daring to be Different, I should say.
which was like pop punk.
Yes.
Yeah.
but it was a fan favorite. Everyone loved that song. We're like, yes, this will be the perfect way to close out our set. Well, we get through first song, it goes great. Get through the second song, goes great. We get into Kiss by Love, which is again kind of a well, how would you characterize that song?
Kind of a mid-tempo ballad in the key of F.
But,
yeah.
But we do go to the key of G by the end of the song.
Yeah, we modulate.
But anyways, we get like halfway through that song, and the dude from the radio station gives us the signal. Like, your time's running out. This is the end of the song. And I remember looking like at the guys like, oh gosh, we're going to have to end with this one? Like, we're not even going to get to our best song at the end. But so we only played 3 songs instead of 4. And then we had to sit back and watch 4 other bands, all of which I thought were really, really good. Really, really good bands. Sun Stand Still, Right of Way, which became Hearts of Saints. What About Dolores? And
Synergy was
and
the other
Synergy, yes,
Yeah.
which was a great like rock band. They were great.
This is 2002, by the way. So these are people that are playing like a few of these bands are like drop D,
Yes.
double kick pedal,
Yes.
like influenced by 90s hard rock like Pantera.
Yes.
And we are Pentecostal kids playing a hybrid of 80s metal and contemporary Christian music with a black gospel drummer. So, yeah.
So then, again, we really have no expectation of winning. But I just remember at the very end of the night, they go to announce the winners. Well, they start by announcing, what was it, 3rd runner-up, so basically last place. And they start announcing the names of the bands, and they get to like the top 3, and we realize, wow, we're in the top 3. Well, next thing you know, we're in the top 2. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, no way we're going to win this thing. And we won. What I remember so much about that night, though, was the acceptance speech that you gave, Corey. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said we weren't even supposed to be here. We were one of the alternates. But you had to put yourself in my 16-year-old brain. To me, this was an opportunity to show how great Jesus was. Not thinking every one of these other people are also Christians and also prayed that they would win.
And we just showed all y'all up.
So I'm thinking, what a great way to let everyone know how awesome Jesus is. He made sure a band dropped out for us so we could be in this competition.
You said, we stole this from all y'all.
Well, I didn't say it that way. But now I'm like, oh man, that's kind of like when somebody wins a Super Bowl and acts like Jesus wanted them to win, but like there was Christians on the other team too. You know what I mean? It was like that. But in my 16-year-old head, I thought I'm giving glory to God. But yeah, I remember our buddy that we all became really good friends with, Craig Felker, was like, well, man, we kind of wish you wouldn't have been here, or wish Jesus wouldn't have made a way for you to be here. Yeah.
But we made some really good friends, you know, for the next several years. You know, like you said, Craig's somebody we've known for ever since then, still in contact with. But several of the people we met that night in those bands were really cool, big influences on us. And then the big thing for us was the prize. You know, we got recording time at a local studio, and so we were pumped. We were gonna go make our first record, and you take it from there.
Well, there is a single that never got released as a single, but that does exist.
Yeah.
Maybe we could find that. I know Kyle has it on CD. I think I do too. You probably do. So the song he mentioned that was like the rock ballad, Came a Stranger, Left a Friend, that was the one song that we got out of that.
Yeah.
Because we only got 9 hours of studio time. So we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't realize it was going to take us like 5 hours to get in there and get everything set up. So that 9 hours was pretty much gone within like the first weekend. Yeah. And then we had to figure out what are we going to do, which I feel like that was like the apex, but kind of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Because we started to realize, like, if we're going to go to the next level, like, we're not there yet, and we could be. But that was like a huge thing for me too, is going in that dude's studio. Shout out to Tom.
Yeah, definitely.
Tom King's still a friend of mine.
I see him often still.
So I remember watching Tom do his thing, and he was using a very early version of Pro Tools. And so that was kind of my inspiration to like go to music college and try to learn how to like use recording software and stuff, is realizing like the only thing any of us have ever recorded on is literally a karaoke machine. And when I used to try to make demos to like show you guys, hey, I wrote this song, I took the like junior church's karaoke machine from church. I would take it home and I would have 2 cassettes, and I would record like a guitar part on one of the cassette decks, stick another cassette in and play that, and then record like a drum part on a keyboard, and then just keep reversing the cassettes back and forth and adding one part at a time. And I realize anyone under the age of 30 has no idea what I'm talking about. But when you do that, every time you keep recording over a cassette like that and keep dubbing it and dubbing it, the pitch starts to change and the speed starts to slow down. So like that was my only exposure, you know, up until the age of 16. And now all of a sudden we're in this dude's home studio. And I think one of our challenges was what made us so good was we were all legitimately best friends and very passionate about everything we were doing. And Ryan was a great front man. So when we would get on stage, you were gonna get a great experience. Like you were gonna dance, you know, you were gonna sing along, so much energy, great vibes. But in a recording studio, you can't approach it that way. You gotta make sure you're playing at the same tempo the whole time. And so there was all these things that like, it was the coolest moment, but yet this huge like eye-opening experience, like, man, we've got a lot of work to do if we're gonna move to the next level. So that's kind of what I remember like post Battle of the Bands.
Yeah. And then we had a lot of really cool opportunities after that. We still had some really good shows. And by that time, like you said, as a band in our show itself, we really hit our stride. And we were really confident in what we were doing. And we had a pretty good following, you know, and we began to extend out farther and farther away from our hometown. You know, we're playing in Champaign, Illinois. We're playing up by St. Louis, Missouri. And things were going really, really well. But I guess the sad part of it was we were all getting older too. You know, by that point, I'm a senior in high school. You're already starting to think about college and what you're going to do. You're a junior. Our drummer, Jeremy, you know, met the woman who he eventually married, you know, and so we're all kind of hitting those grown-up stages of life. Kyle the same way. And next thing you know, like it was coming to an end. It was crazy.
Jeremy got married a year after we won the Battle of the Bands. And one of the first dates that him and his wife went on is she came along for that trip.
Yeah.
Because I remember she was like almost like a groupie, like, you know, like front and center with us. And I remember when we won the Battle of the Bands and some of the folks in our church took us out to eat afterwards. And it was like the best feeling. But yeah, a year later, that dude was married. Yeah. I mean, I was 16 at the time, so he would have been 20.
Yep.
So a year later, he's 21, he's married, and you were a junior. So like you said, I mean, only 6 months later, you're a senior in high school. Working at Pat's Market in Brookport.
My future wife was there that night too. Emily and I were dating. She was there that night. You know, we got married when we were 19. So yeah, I mean, we really did grow up quickly right after that stage.
Yeah, and I look back now too, and knowing what I know now, there was this just like, I mean, we were legitimately best friends.
Yeah.
We did everything together. Like a typical weekend would be like, we stay the night in somebody's barn all night Friday night, writing songs and stuff. And then Saturday, some of the guys were old enough to go work a job. But then it might be like Saturday night, we all go play basketball at Noble Park and then stay up all night playing video games and then lead worship twice at church on Sunday.
Yeah.
And like, that was just what we did. We played in church together. We played in the band together. We did everything
we hung out together.
We were best friends and still are, you know.
We were all in each other's weddings.
Yes.
You know, I mean, yeah.
And one of these decades when I get married, brother, you'll be there. But what made it weird really is like when I moved away, like that was a big deal. Because that was we were already kind of realizing like, you know, this is probably not going to look the same in a few years. But that was kind of like the last thing that we officially, quote, broke up.
Yeah.
And I remember agonizing over that. Like, should I leave, you know, like Metropolis, Paducah? But now knowing what I know is like, there's nothing stopping us from recording those songs in the next couple years. Like we could go back and I still remember all the riffs. I was messing around yesterday. I'm like, I remember every one of these songs.
Yeah. I remember most of the lyrics still, which is crazy, you know. And we're probably, not only are you a better musician, but we're all probably better singers now than what we were when our, you know, teenage voices were trying to sing harmony parts and things like that.
And when you're a 15 or 16-year-old boy, you've just got so much testosterone and like the type of thing that would make you want to have a wrestling match in a tree, which is a real thing I did when I was 14. Like that's the kind of like that's what you're fighting against when you're trying to be patient in a recording studio.
Yeah.
It's hard to not speed up and sound super aggressive even when it's not needed. But like now I think we'd all have the patience to stick with the process.
Yeah.
I own all the equipment now, so it's not like we're on a time clock.
Yeah.
So that's my thing is like, I'm glad we all remain best friends even after the band ceased to exist, but there's nothing stopping us now from recording all those songs.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think if we stick with it, by the time we're 30, do you think we're still going with it? Do you think we catch a big break if we would have stuck with it?
Man, I don't know.
It's the big what
I don't
if.
know if all of us would have stuck together, maybe 2 or 3 of us.
Yeah.
But the other thing, now knowing what I know about the music industry, I think there's a lot of fake and like I think a lot of the Christian music industry that existed at that time was not that different from the quote secular industry. And I don't see us being willing to compromise what was the best things about us.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been down with that.
And I think, well, I mean, we were presented with a contract at one point.
That's true.
And even that seemed kind of weird to me at the time. And I was the one that was like, I can't sign this. Like, this just seems weird. Like,
Yeah.
So it just would have had to have been a situation where somebody wouldn't have tried to only commodify us.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have had to have been with someone that we trusted musically that could have helped us arrange our songs better for recording.
Yeah.
But it is possible.
Yeah. The thing I think about, dude, is that if we were doing the things that we were doing at such a young age as teenagers, and we continue that craft by the time we're 25, 26 years old, man, I can't imagine what we would have been able to do by that point. But like you said, our lives would all look very different too. And, you know, I think you're doing pretty good, bro.
I appreciate that. Well, I think you're doing excellent, and I kind of want to talk about that now. So before we get into your current career, I just want to say, I mean, you've been my friend since I was like 4. So we're always going to be friends. But I really admire everything you've done since that time, because you basically run Pizza Inn. And as everyone knows, that's one of the best restaurants around. And you're the guy in the middle of all of that. But you've also stayed in our home church and been a youth pastor for a very long time and have made a huge difference in our home community. So right off the bat, I want to say how much I admire you for all of that. I always have.
Thank you, bro.
But I'm very curious, just real quick, some of the high notes about running a restaurant. Let's just start with, what do you think might be the biggest misconception people have? Like the general public, if they've never actually worked in a restaurant, or what's like just the one thing that you think most of the public can't know unless they've had your job?
Well, I think that everybody should work in hospitality type work, at least at some point, service type of work, at least at some point in their life, because you gain a greater respect for the people that do that kind of work. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that, you know, you can't have a good life by working in a restaurant that, the pay's not good enough and you work too many nights and weekends are bad and blah, 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 blah. And I would say that's totally not true. I've been working in the restaurant business for about to be 23 years now. And I feel like my life is very fulfilled. I feel like I haven't missed out on anything. I feel like some of the smartest people I've ever known in my life all either operate restaurants, run a restaurant, or work in a restaurant. Some of the hardest working people I've ever known in my life are in restaurants. Some of the best mothers I've known in my life, some of the best fathers, grandparents. I do understand it's not for everyone because, like I said, the hours can be funny. But at the same time, there's something about working in a restaurant with that type of energy that people have collectively every single day when the rush is hitting, when you're coming down from the rush, when it's time to clean up. There's something that you feel in the air, the connectivity that you have with those people that you don't have in like an office job. You don't have in other different, traditional areas of occupation. And so I think the biggest misconception is that people think that you wouldn't enjoy working in a restaurant. And I vehemently think that's not true at all.
There's also a vibe at Pizza Inn. Now watch how I do this. There's a vibe at Pizza Inn that's amazing. Truly mean that. Let me tell you about a few other amazing venues real quick and where I'm going to be playing this week. So tomorrow.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Tomorrow I'm going to be at the Slip In Saloon in Nashville, Illinois. And then Saturday I'm going to be playing at New Memphis Station in New Baden. All great venues, but for different reasons than Pizza Inn, because Pizza Inn is one of our sponsors today.
Hey.
And they have the best pizza buffet, and I can't even think of a better one anywhere that I've ever been. And that's not just me being a salesman, and it's not just because Ryan's here. Truly cannot think of a better pizza buffet. So make sure you visit Pizza Inn on Joe Clifton Drive in Paducah. But yes, the environment at Pizza Inn is amazing. And it's a community staple. We used to go to Pizza Inn after church on Sundays.
All the time.
And they had that little machine. They would entice us with a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. So we'd all beg our dad for 50 cents. And it would shoot out 2 random baseball cards. And it was like an urban legend. Everybody swore they knew a kid who saw a kid pull a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card out of that machine. So every
I
Sunday.
totally forgot about this, man.
Yeah, I'd be like, Dad, I need 50 cents. Like every time we would eat there, thinking I was going to get
Big Griffey.
Yeah, and it was always like Tom Pagnozzi or something is what I was pulling. Some random Todd Van Poppel.
Craig Graybeck.
But anyways, so you have been working at Pizza Inn how long?
23 years in December.
And how long did it take you to get into management?
I think I was there for about 10 months by the time I got offered a management position. And then the following year, I was offered the general manager position. And part of that was because I had married the owner's daughter. And so I had it was a big investment that they were making in me, of course, and I was making in it. So it was a heavy responsibility to have. But I also felt like that I could do it, that I could do the job. And it was a lot more difficult than what I expected it to be. Not just the job itself, but the expectations that come with being the son-in-law of these wonderful people, my in-laws, Larry, Marcia, Rust, who literally built this staple, like you said, within the community. And you kind of feel this weight of, man, I really don't want to screw this up. If it goes wrong, everyone's going to know it's because of me. It's obviously not because of them. And so that was a difficult thing to navigate and a lot of extra stress. But I think by the time I was several years in, I became confident in who I was and my ability and what I could do. And then we were blessed to have a phenomenal core and team around us. that we started really investing in, and we felt like they would be with us for the long haul. And in fact, you know, two of my other managers that are who are currently with us now, they've also been at Pizza Inn for over 20 years now. And so we all kind of grew up together, and it's been a fun journey.
Well, and I was telling somebody that, I think it was Levi, et cetera. We were talking about JCPC or something, and somehow we started talking about you, and I was like, yeah, you know, he's married to the owner's daughter. And he was like, wait, what? And I think he thought like your family owned the place or whatever. Yeah. What I was telling Levi, though, sometimes you hear of cases of like something like that happening, and you're like, oh, this dude just kind of walked into this. That's the opposite with Ryan. And I don't know Larry, your father-in-law, obviously as well as you do. There is no way in the world that man would have given you any responsibility if you didn't earn it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, Ryan's work ethic is off the chains. I have always admired that about him. And as I was saying, there's been so many weeks that you probably worked 55, 60 hours and then probably spent 20 hours doing things at the church and probably kept that up for years. So that's one of my biggest things I've always admired about you. And you always make the situation better. You know, you take the same enthusiasm in everything you're doing. I'm just going to ask some other questions that I think, you know, the audience may be interested in. I've always heard that like a profit margin in a restaurant is very low. Mm-hmm. So it's not like maybe selling a guitar where you might have like a 25% profit margin. Mm. So with a restaurant, it's like quantity. Like you have to keep people coming in constantly. You have to keep a flow of customers. Is that true? For the most part.
100% true. The profit margins are very small in restaurants. It's hard to make a really... Restaurant people aren't rich as what people think they are, you know what I'm saying? And especially in a buffet concept restaurant. It's even more difficult because of the price point that you have on a buffet, and then there's so much waste that is involved in a buffet. I mean, if you came to our restaurant and you saw the trash cans full in the dumpster every single night, just from food that gets discarded from people that, you know, try something, it's not their thing, whatever, and then discard it. It's very, very difficult to make money. And so you've really, really got to be smart to watch those margins, not just in your food, but then with your labor as well. You know, I mean, you got to have great employees that work for you if you want to be successful. And to have great employees, you got to be able to pay them a livable, good wage. And so that again gets into your margin just a little bit more. And then of course you're at the mercy of the markets when it comes to how food is, the cost of food. You know, chicken might be really good right now, but beef is really high, you know.
I heard it's getting better in Argentina, but anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always something, you know, a crop issue or something like that causes your lettuce price to skyrocket for, you know, 3 or 4 months, and there's all these different variables, and so you're constantly in the restaurant business, like always on the lookout for, okay, you know, well, how do I offset this cost by doing this? And you know, some people, like, I don't think it's as common as what people make it out to be. Some people assume that like restaurants like to cut corners by, you know, they water down their dressing or something like that so to make it last longer. Like from everybody I've ever known, like that, those kinds of things don't happen. You just have to be smarter about and more strategic about the decisions that you make. And so it's a tough business. It really is.
What was COVID like, and what type of adaptations did you have to make to stay in business?
COVID was very difficult. It was probably the most stressful time of my career there, especially again as a buffet concept. We were concerned. Truthfully, we were concerned that people may never eat at a buffet again, or may never want to, because of the risks that were potentially involved, that we all thought would, you know, ruin the world. And so it was very difficult. It was even more difficult when they shut down all the indoor dining. That was tough because, at Pizza Inn, 70% of our business is dine-in. So we really had to completely change our entire plan of action as far as how we do business every day. And we go from a buffet business to now we are a carry-out and delivery only business. And it was different. And it was difficult. I mean, I had 81 employees when we got shut down, and I had to lay off 54 people. All people that work, in the dining room, servers, hosts, dishwashers, busboys, stuff like that. It was a really, really difficult time. I never had to lay off anyone ever, and I had to do 54 people in one day, and that was probably the toughest day of work ever. But we were resilient. We kept trying to find ways. And that's the thing about restaurant people too. They're very, very resilient because there's always challenges that are coming up against you. There's always another fire that you got to put out. There's always another battle that you got to fight. But you just stick with it. And our team was so resilient and creative. We tried some things. They didn't work. That's okay. We move on to the next thing. And we've come out on the other side of COVID as a healthier business, and we're doing better than we ever have. So in a lot of ways, COVID was a blessing for the lessons that it taught us, and the adjustments that we made from there.
I've never been in there where it's not slammed. And Pizza Inn's my go-to. I try to, like when I'm on the road, I kind of have to eat certain things and blah, 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 blah. But like if it's my birthday or whatever, that's always my go-to. For a few reasons. One, I love the restaurant so much. Two, I kind of have to go to Pizza Inn if I want to hang out with my brother. Real talk. So, but every time I'm in there, or if like my nephews and I plan like, hey, we're all going to hang out Tuesday night. Let's go to Pizza Inn. You guys want to go see Chad? It's always slammed. Yeah. Every time I'm in there.
We're very blessed, and it's... We've been in our community since 1972, so we've got a lot of love, a lot of connection with the community. We've got people that not only did they grow up coming to Pizza Inn, but they raised their kids and now their grandkids are, eating at Pizza Inn. So we got several generations worth of pizza lovers here in town. We got a great staff, that work hard for us, and I think we got 16 people that work for us who have all been there for at least 10 years or more.
Whoa.
And that's, to have that in the restaurant industry is phenomenal. That type of tenure. So we got a great community connection, great staff. And honestly, I mean, we're blessed by God. And we have been, and we try our best to, people always ask, are you a Christian restaurant? And I always think that's a funny question because, this restaurant did not give its life to Jesus or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like Jesus did not die for the restaurant.
Is the dough unleavened?
But we try to operate our business with Christian principles. You know what I'm saying? And we do our best to love everyone that comes in, to serve everyone that comes in the best that we can, and to treat them as they should. And so I think the favor of God is on us because of that, thankfully. And I'm glad we have it.
I think that's apparent too. And not just because of the music you guys have playing, but truly, like, I've never been in there and had a bad experience. Ever.
Thanks. Hope it stays that way, always.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Got a few more questions. So you said that 70% of your business is dine-in. Does that mean 30% is delivery?
Delivery or takeout, either one. Yep. And we also do like DoorDash as well, and Grubhub, Uber. We do the third party, but we also do our own delivery. Your brother actually heads up our catering team as well. He does a fantastic job. Not only do you play weddings, but he caters weddings. I've always said that you guys should go in together and,
Man, I've actually thought about opening up a business. Sam, my buddy, and I talked about doing something called the Wedding Guys. Because
Perfect.
the amount of weddings that we show up to and they're
Perfect.
asking us questions like we're in charge, like we're carrying like speakers in.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, where does this go?
Yeah.
Where do they want this flower arrangement? Yeah. And I'm like, dude, we're literally like musicians. So I have thought about it. Now, my brother and I couldn't work together. We would kill each other. The reason that relationship works is we don't live together anymore.
Yeah.
We're both hyper competitive and it just wouldn't, somebody would get choked. But we have been at the same wedding at the same time. Like he's catered weddings that I've played.
Yep.
So if they wanted a catering job, it doesn't just have to be weddings, right? Like
No. I mean, we cater big office parties, big school dinners, or teacher appreciation, whatever the case may be. And we don't just do pizza. We do fresh pasta as well, where we actually make the plate of pasta right there in front of you, put it on a plate for you. And of course, we can. We're very famous for our salad bar. We actually can create like our own customized salad bar for your event. So we have all kinds of different opportunities.
Love the salad bar.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go ahead and give you guys Chad's cell phone number in case you want a catering job. That is 270. No, I'm kidding. So do they just contact Pizza Inn if they're interested in catering?
Yeah, just call us directly. And if they need information on a catering event or they're looking to book a date, just ask to speak to a member of the catering team and they'll take care of that for them.
Ask for Chad Big Daddy Evitz and tell him his little brother told you to come by. Real quick, too, speaking of weddings, Toby Glass of Metropolis Music and Media, he edits this podcast, and Toby DJs weddings. Toby can do photography. Toby can really do any media work that you need done. So contact Toby at Metropolis Music and Media if you need any kind of media work done at all. And then House to Home Realty in Southern Illinois. If you guys are looking for your next home or you need to sell one, call House to Home and ask for Celia Robertson, one of my good friends. She can help you out. All right, one last question. Okay. What are you looking forward to the most? And it doesn't have to be with business, music, I mean, just anything. What are you looking forward to the most?
Bro, I had not thought about that at all.
A Bears winning season. Do you see that happening? I know you're a Bears fan.
Bro, it could happen this year. We could be above 500 this year. But what makes me nervous is we're 4-2 right now. We were 4-2 last year to start the season as well. And then we didn't win another game until the last game of the season. So, yeah, the Bears in the Super Bowl. You know what? You know what would make me really happy if my Chicago Bulls would get back to the NBA Finals. Because we ain't been there since 98, bro. That's a long time. That was our favorite team growing up.
Yeah, I feel your pain. I'm a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Very similar trajectory.
Yeah, it's been even longer for y'all.
Yeah, 95. So, but yeah, anything else that you're just really looking forward to in life?
I'm looking forward to my daughter graduates high school this year. That's going to be great. Excited for her. Excited for the life trajectory that she's on as far as pursuing her dreams and seeing her do that. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for, I'm 41 now. So if you look at the statistics, I'm like halfway through this journey. So I got, and hopefully another 40 years with my wife, who I love very, very much. We still have fun together. There's some young people in our church that I'm looking forward to seeing them grow up and see how their lives turn out. There's some young people that work for me that I think one day are going to be some really incredible people. And I don't know, I'm a big picture person. I always have been. Our church, we just moved into a new church building this past year, and we're growing and kind of hitting our groove there at Bridge Church in Brookport. And man, there's a lot of big stuff. I'm looking forward to the day that we finally get to record our JCPC album. That'll be dope.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That's gonna be dope.
I'm looking forward to a 2 or 3 week period where that's all I have to think about.
Yeah.
So that would be great.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Bonus question for you. What was your favorite song?
Of JCPC?
Yeah. What was your favorite song?
Oh, that's tough, bro. Man, I think this song we wrote called Breath of Life probably had the most potential to be like the best song overall. Looking back now, it almost had like a Creed vibe.
Arms wide open kind of feel.
Yeah, it really did. Like the riff. I would say it was like a mix between like Creed and like Glycerin by Bush. But like I feel like that was like probably the best song, and we wrote that during a tornado in your parents' single wide trailer in Brookport. And that was the first song that you and your brother and I sat down and all wrote together.
Yeah, and how old were we? You would remember that. We were
young. I'm going to say I was 14.
Yeah, I was thinking there's no way I'm older than 15 at that time. So
yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Man, as far as favorite one to play, man, I used to play these crazy solos and the song Better Way that you mentioned. And then we had a song called Crazy for Jesus that did get crazy at the end. Like double time, and I would always like try to do the craziest. That was all you, man. The arrangement on that song, that was all you. You made that song. So those are probably my favorite to play. And we used to do a cover of The Hard Way by DC Talk.
Oh, yeah. And
our version of that sounded nothing like theirs. It was a true, like, really good cover where we made it our own.
Yeah.
And I used to love to play that. Yeah. I had this Crate GFX 65 amp that I got after my 8th grade graduation. My dad was very mad at me because I spent all my 8th grade graduation money on this amp. You know, he said he was mad at me because I wasted my money. But looking back, he didn't like the 10-watt amp I started out with. So it was probably, he didn't want me getting a 65-watt amp. That's probably what that was about. But it had all these built-in effects.
Yeah.
And I remember I had this like delay effect I would always do on this little riff I wrote for that song. I loved to play that song live, man. So those are probably my favorites. Yeah. What about you?
I think, I love Better Way. That was always just a fun song. You knew it was going to get people going. Crazy was always great. Hide. I love that song. That also kind of had a Creed feel to it, which Creed was massively big during our heyday.
Probably the biggest band at the time.
Yeah. And Hide, I wrote that one myself. As far as the lyrics are concerned, I wrote that myself, and that was really kind of a very pivotal moment in my life. And I was only like 17, I think, when I wrote that. And those lyrics to this day, when I think about them, I'm like, wow, that was great. But you know, my favorite song, we haven't really mentioned it, and we wrote it as one of the later years that I really enjoyed, was In His Arms.
Okay, that one was a total Van Halen ripoff. So they had Van Halen the song Dance the Night Away. I can be honest about all this now. But I was just like hearing a lot of these rock songs for the first time. Wasn't supposed to be listening to any of it. Yeah. And so I didn't like literally steal guitar riffs, but was like heavily influenced. And so, yeah, that's where I got the idea for that. And that was a fun one, man.
That was a fun song. And we were in our stride when we wrote that song. You know? So it had a lot of fun.
I remember we were practicing that song, and the like youth leader or pastor from one of the area churches that had hired us to come play, Steve Harris was this dude's name, right?
Yeah. I see him at Pizza Inn a lot.
So we made friends with him, and I remember he would just like come hang out with us. Yeah. And it was after church one night, and we were working that song out and got our arrangement for it. And he had like slipped in the back, and we were like really just like focused on what we were doing. And we like ended the song, dun, 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 and you just hear someone go, yes! And it was Steve Harris in the back. He was like, I love your new song.
Oh my gosh.
And then I remember he would request it at every show he was in attendance. So even if we didn't have it on the set list, like Steve was going to yell. It was like his free bird.
Yeah. Just like my dad was in the light.
Yeah.
He's playing the light every time.
Yeah, we did get to where we could do some legitimate, like, 3-part harmony.
Yeah.
Kyle, Ryan's brother, the bass player, and I would always, like, try to stack up harmony parts with Ryan on some of these songs. But
yeah, and like I said, the fact that we were trying to do that as teenagers, teenage boys, like you said, at that age, just unbelievable.
It was a lot of fun. It like I think of it now because there was a little tension, you know, like when I moved, and then we all got over that pretty quick. That only lasted a short time, and then we're all best friends again. But the pressure, I mean, we really were living as 30-year-olds when we were 14, 15. But I look back now, I'm like, I think that was good for us overall in a net sense. Yes, there were things that probably could have been easier, but I think it kept us all in line, kept us all out of trouble. None of us ever really got in any trouble.
No.
Like, I mean, we all were very committed Christians. Nobody was acting out at school. Nobody got in trouble with the cops. Like, that kept us in line.
No drug problems, nothing like that.
Nobody partied. We were good kids, and I feel like those expectations were good for us, which is also why it drives me nuts when people act like they're an adolescent now until they're like 30 years old. I'm like, 30? Your grandpa ran into Normandy when he was 18 and was getting his head shot at.
Yeah.
30? You know, but there's that. But like, to me, I'm like, what a cool existence that you're like growing up with these dudes. You're all within 3 or 4 years of each other. You're like your own little gang, and you do everything together. Played basketball together, played video games together, wrote songs, like toured around, you know, our little region and played shows. We're the worship team at our church.
Yeah.
By the time we were in high school, like all of us were the worship team.
Yeah.
What a cool life, man.
We had, and we've talked about this before, you and I, and Kyle too, like, we had the best type of experience you could have as a teenage boy in Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
We did. I mean, we really did. We were friends with everyone. You know, we weren't the most popular kids, but everyone knew who we were. They knew what we did. We connected with different people. Oh, man, it was great. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Me either. Well, I love you, man. I'm going to be seeing you in a few weeks at Thanksgiving. We always hang out on Thanksgiving. And
yeah,
I'd appreciate more than anything. I know you got my back. I could text you at any time, and I know you're there for me, and I hope you know the same thing. And I just love you, man.
Same you. Love you, brother. And I just want to say for the entire world to know that I'm sorry for that time that I told you that you couldn't play guitar solos at that old Baptist church.
I don't think that was your fault. I think
I know that broke your heart.
The 6'5" brother's fault. I know that dude's name. I'm not going to say it because he became a pastor in Metropolis after that.
Okay.
At a Baptist church right behind my house. So I'm not going to say his name. I don't want him to get harassed because maybe he still lives in here.
Love your solos, man. I'm sorry. We quenched him that night.
There were other times. I had my moments.
There were also times where you played solos when you weren't supposed to play or weren't going to, or at least planning to play a solo.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. It evened out.
I'm doing it tonight.
It evened out. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, there's nothing to be sorry for.
We were good.
But, all right, bro. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man.